the meeting can be called to order by any member of the body. Just by saying the meeting's called to order, you can bang the gavel if you like. And then the body needs to, as its first order of business, nominate someone to serve as the temporary chairman, and that person will run the meeting until your chair arrives. It does require a nomination and then a vote to do that. So, if you would, call the meeting to order first.
I'd like to call this meeting to order.
Now, anyone can make a nomination for someone just to run the meeting until your chair arrives.
I nominate Isaiah Green. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of Isaiah Green heading up the meeting until the chair arrives, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone in the negative? Thank you.
All right, so I guess we can get started with the approval of the minutes. So we can just take a minute to look over that, and then I'll take a motion to approve those minutes. All right, so do we have a motion to approve these minutes as read? Do we have a second?
Second.
Awesome. So now we can go ahead and go into updates and reports.
You do need to actually vote on it still.
Oh, for sure. Okay. All in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, so that has passed. Thank you. So, chairman's update from HRCA liaison.
You can look at items out of order since your chair's not here, so I would advise just proceeding on to make the update from your business inclusion officer.
All right.
Well, thank you for having me here again. It's just a few updates. I promised that I would come every few months to tell you what I'm doing. So some of the things that we are working internally as the city are we're looking at centralizing purchasing. That would allow for more control over how outreach is done, especially to the African American community. We would have more control over that. We are working on a vendor self-service portal. There was a little confusion, and we thought it was in place, and then it turned out that we bought a half a license or something like that. But so if you heard me before saying that we have a vendor self-serve portal, we don't have it yet. We will have it soon. So we're working on that. I am trying to finalize a draft of the new ABI policy because right now the minority business policy has been expired. One of the decisions that we have to still make is race and gender conscious or race and gender neutral. And I was speaking with Brad, and it's something that we're gonna try to have a decision sooner rather than later. It's needed in order to proceed. We are working on the SBE rollout. SBE is Small Business Enterprise rollout. Legally, in order to have a shelter market, it has to be race and gender neutral, and an SBE enterprise would provide us with the ability to create a shelter market, which will allow for certain projects to only, depending on how many people are registered as SBEs, to only be available to them for bidding, which will in turn assist with the economy of scales issues that the larger companies are able to low bid the smaller companies in the community. So that's one of the things we're working on. We also have executed our Mountain Community Capital Fund program, and so far we've done 3 loans, and all of them have gone to African American, 2 males and 1 female. The Mountain Community Capital Fund, it's a collaboration between the city, the county, Mountain BizWorks, Carolina Small Business, and self-help. And the whole idea of the fund is to be used as a collateral program. So when someone goes and applies for a loan and they do not have the assets to put down as collateral, we could use this to assist them into getting that loan. So one of the first things I did was I wanted to hear from the community, the African American business community themselves. What are the barriers that you have to gaining access to opportunities? How can the city assist you? How can we move forward in a way that that benefits the community and also provides the city with the contractors that they need? So we put together, I think I came to you guys and I told you we had put a cohort together of business owners, and during the time that cohort was happening, it was about a 13-week project with the cohort. During the time that this cohort was happening, I put out an RFP, a request for proposals for a training program for MWBEs. With that said, a subset of the cohort that I was working with put in a proposal. We received 4 proposals. They were very good proposals, but 2 of them were disqualified because one of the requirements was that they had to be acquainted with the African American community in this region, and 2 of them were not. So they were disqualified, and that left 2 other very qualified. And through a process, a committee of 4 people, the best proposal was chosen, and right now is going as the ADE project with Cortina Colwell. But I know that Ms. Cancel, she's like, no, I know that they're working on changing the name and all those things, and we're working on getting the contract put through because of the amount. It exceeds it's $95,000 for the first year that we'll be paying them. So we need to take it to council to be approved, and we have it on the docket, on the calendar for council approval on the 11th of February. So to me, that's really good news. I think that besides having a powerful group of African American individuals with lots of experience and knowledge, we also have representatives of the community that will inspire the rest of the community to want to grow their business, to learn, and to achieve their goals. One of the things that was identified was the lack of co-working spaces that were African American friendly. There's lots of co-working spaces here in Asheville, but we know that sadly when we're not white and we walk into space, people may look at you differently, and that may create an environment of not being welcome. Therefore, yes, there are plenty of co-working spaces, but my take from the African American community is that those spaces are often not welcoming. So this is a temporary measure, I know, but I applied for a grant through the NCIDF Foundation of North Carolina, and I got that grant. And with that grant, we plan to purchase Chromebooks, portable projector and screen, so that the group, this group, whenever they go teach or provide one-on-one services and stuff, they don't have to worry about not having equipment to work with the community. So that's the grant, and then I have a full schedule for the next year that my office is putting together, and I noticed that often when I host these events for businesses, oftentimes people who are not business owners show up. So I'm like, how can we make this a more inclusive, regardless of if you're a business owner or not, you know? So we hosted our first event yesterday, and we had 4 city employees from capital projects. We had someone from IT, we had someone from HR, we had someone from purchasing. I don't want to forget anyone. So we had a great turnout of city employees that were there talking and giving ideas to anyone and everyone who showed up. And we also had 3 employees from Buncombe County there to give information to the community, job opportunities coming up, stuff like that too. So this is the event. If you have any questions, I'm here, and if you would like to make an appointment with me, that's the link to make an appointment with me.
I do have a question. You mentioned the $95,000. So would that be divided between the individuals that received the grant?
The contract is with the ADE project.
What did you say?
ADE.
It's Cortina Janelle's
Colwell is Artist Design Evolution.
evolution.
Yeah, so she's come here with me to talk, the way that they are going to divide those funds is going to be, my understanding is based on how many hours each person puts in. I'm not sure how much per hour, and then I'm assuming there's going to be different fees. I should have brought the RFP because of the RFP was broken down for planning the classes. There's going to be a fee that they will get reimbursed payment for delivering the class, depending if it's a group or if it's a one-on-one. There's another fee that they will get paid. So they have their own system, but it's all going to the African American community. Our goal is to first, we don't want to be exclusive or exclude anyone, but we understand that the African American community has been the most disadvantaged in the city of Asheville. So we want to start with the African American community, and as we grow those businesses, then start incorporating Latinos, Native Americans, Asian Americans, and women.
Well, I tell you, it's just a fantastic job, and just to see the work that you've done from the minority report to now we see an action plan. So thank you.
Thank you.
Is anyone else?
I've got a couple of questions. The co-working space issue, have you visited the existing co-work spaces and talked to whoever manages those about maybe doing some outreach to try to I know they're private businesses.
Yeah, they're private businesses. I have not. And to be honest, it was from feedback from the cohort that I haven't done the outreach to those. Yeah,
Okay.
I haven't, just because of that. But I'm looking. I don't know if there's a space that maybe we can talk to David Nash, and there's a space that we can use, to provide social location. I think that instead of me saying co-working spaces, what the community needs more is like the AB Tech Anchor Campus,
Incubator.
Incubator where there's like Blue Ridge Kitchen and stuff, and places like that where caterers can go and work in a certified kitchen and provide their foods and stuff, because that's one of the issues why, I'm trying to teach some caterers how to become vendors at the Civic Center. It's not the Civic Center, I don't remember the name, the Harris place. And they require to have a certified kitchen to be able to qualify, and then that limits the amount of those businesses who can be there. Just trying to look at the barriers and try to come with solutions. I think it's the best that we can do for now. I can do for now. And it's just me, remember, the one person in the office.
My second question was, with your drop-in coffee chats, I noticed that they were all the same time. In the morning, like an hour and a half.
8 to 9:30 every other month. The whole idea behind that, and then the lunch and learns, is that it's drop-in, so you can drop in on your way to work, on your way to your business. So it's not like before. In the past, we've hosted events that are like from 5:30 to 7:30, and oftentimes I had people say, "I can't go. I'm still at work," And this 8 to 9:30 will provide for someone to just drop in, get the information that they need, grab a donut, grab a cup of coffee. We didn't have donuts. We had delicious food provided by Turk to Jerk, but grab a plate of food and go about your day, and that's the idea behind that. And then the lunch and learn, hopefully people are able to take lunch for an hour at least. So the classes are going to be 45 minutes, and then there's going to be time where people can network. So that's why those times have been chosen.
Gotcha. How many participants from the community did you have at your first coffee?
15.
15. That's pretty good.
But that's really good, I think. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate all the updates. I think it's exciting to see these efforts by the city start to move forward. I wanted to ask if there was any update on the policy that was discussed. I think it was around changing in procurement practices for contracts under $30,000. Do you know what the status of that?
So we've gone back and forth with that a lot. That's something that we still want to try to do. It's still going to happen. But until we make that decision about race and gender conscious or race and gender neutral, it's not working out. I don't even know what I'm allowed to say or not say, because I don't want to say anything illegal, but I can give you an example. We had a project under $30,000, and the capital project people and I busted our behinds getting, businesses of color who could do the work, and 9 businesses were identified. Out of those 9, I believe that 5 or 6 replied to the bid. Out of those 5 or 6 that replied to the bid, the majority were African American or Latino. After all that work, the bid still went to a white business owner, because we still have to follow the lowest responsible rule, and he was the lowest bid by like $1,000 or something like that. So it's a little bit frustrating that's an example of what we're going through and experiencing. But I'm thinking that if we had been race and gender conscious, then that wouldn't have happened, right, Red?
That would be the goal.
That would be the goal. that if we had that many, we could choose someone else that wasn't the lowest responsible. We still have to abide by state laws.
Was the information provided by everyone involved before the final bid was cast?
Say that again?
Was the information provided? Did everyone know what everyone else bid?
Yes.
So,
Yeah, getting the information out and getting the African American business owners or the Latino business owners who qualify, who could do the work was not the issue.
so my question though is, if, when the bids were done and the white business owner cast their bid, was there an opportunity for the other business owners to counter that bid?
You can't. It's the law. Yeah. The law as I understand it.
So everyone has one bid?
Yeah, you set a time, you set a date, all bids have to be in by this time and this date. Anything after that cannot be accepted.
I would just say that I do think that those projects under 30,000 that don't follow the RFP process, it's important for the city to have some mechanism to look for better outcomes there.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we're trying to build up very small businesses, those are the kinds of projects that can really help people get off the ground.
Absolutely.
But I understand the challenge
And
legally
yes.
and with the process itself. So.
Yes, and that's, I'm not a legal person, but if Brad can talk a little bit about it.
Just very quickly, I think these are excellent questions. These are questions that we ask ourselves and examine on a daily basis. I think the best answer that I can give you right now is that the city has decided internally that it is time for us to do a complete, holistic reexamination of our contracting process with these factors in mind. And for the first time, I think in many, many years, the city is considering not just the goals, but how do we implement it? How do we put these things into practice to where even what we would call our small contracts, our below $30,000, where you don't have to jump through as many procedural hoops, that you don't fall back simply on the way you've always done things. And we're trying to rearrange our processes. We're trying to rearrange the individual personnel who are involved in the decision-making process so that we can rethink how this is done. And we abandon the habits. And we allow ourselves also at the same time the legal framework we need to make these decisions with race and gender principles in mind. And we've taken those steps, and now, as Rosanna mentioned, we're trying to get over those last few hurdles to implement that as part of this holistic approach. So I do think it is a monumental effort, but I think you will begin to see significant changes in these kind of things, because the best intentions without the proper procedures don't always add up.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so we're gonna just continue down on the agenda. But I'll invite everyone to go stay in updates and reports and just go up to the chair, just give an update from our liaison. And I'd like to do that at this time. So this is a direct note from Nia to everyone. Hey y'all! I am so happy. I'm so sorry I'm not able to make it here tonight. First and foremost, Happy New Year, and I hope everyone had a safe and fruitful holiday season. I'm excited to continue working with you all and cannot wait to see the great things y'all accomplished this year. As suggested, I plan on giving frequent updates about what is happening in the Office of Equity and Inclusion. Because this is our first meeting of the year, I wanted to take the opportunity to recenter ourselves and our focus. You all are here because you share a desire for an equitable community. You all are here because you are willing to work towards improving human relations throughout your community. I encourage you all to continue to question and challenge the status quo, with equity leading the way. I want to empower you all to stay encouraged in this journey. When focusing on policy, we must remember that these systems of white supremacy, patriarchy, and capitalism were not built in a day. We are in this work for the long haul. There will be times that victories feel few and far between, but the work you all do matters. Your voice and desire to empower marginalized and under-resourced communities matters. and your desire to bring improved human relations, equity, and inclusion to the forefront of the conversation matter. Thank you all for your service and your passion, and I know this will be a great year. Nia Davis. Okay. So we're just going to go down and open it up for the presentation of CPAC and the HRCA MOU draft. And we all have a copy of the MOU. If we can pull that up now, and I will open it up to Brad.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was going to do my impersonation of Nia, but you stole and did it far better than I could. Just as a very brief introduction, this goes back to, I believe, your November meeting when you begin discussing the possibility that you would like to memorialize an agreement with CPAC in order to help define and delineate responsibilities and duties in those areas where there may be confusion. For the process of helping outline this to give more efficiency and effectiveness to the process. So before we get into that, we are fortunate to have Councilman Young here tonight. I think he would like to address the body before we get started.
Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. I just want to be real quick and concise. Unfortunately, I won't be here for the duration of the meeting. I have a family obligation, but I wanted to come and again remind you, give you kind of a 50,000-foot flyover of why this is on your plate, how it arrived here. So shortly after the Johnny Russ incident and prior to this body being formatted, City Council decided that originally we decided that we wanted to dissolve CPAC and wrap those powers into HRCA. That ended up being halted at a council meeting, and we decided to keep CPAC. And once this body got going, that this body would then have we would give this body the ability to figure out how the relationship between HRCA and CPAC could work. That is a power that has been given to this body through council. And so we are supportive of this body working with CPAC, so I want that to be known. I don't know what the outcome is going to be this evening. I would say this: if this body should so happen to remotely choose not to have a formal relationship with CPAC in some way, that power would no longer be yours, and it would go back to boards and commissions and council, and we would make a formal decision on how that would work. We've worked, and I've worked definitely diligently to be able to, in the formation of this group as well as others, to afford this body some of the, within the powers of boards and commissions, this body has the most ability to create change in this city. And so hopefully you don't give that power and opportunity up at all and endorse this MOU. So that's all I really wanted to say, and just kind of let you know that council is supportive of these two bodies working together. It was our intention to allow this body to decide kind of how that happens. Tiffany and Blake have worked together offline to kind of help create some of this stuff, and as well as city staff. So I want to say that, thank you, and whatever you decide, I'll hear about it later. So thank you and have a good evening.
Councilman, before you go,
yes.
And I know you have to go, but if I may just open it really brief for anyone who's a little foggy to ask a question.
Of course.
Now would be the time.
And I have a question.
Yeah.
So you said, and I'm not against this collaboration, but you said that if we don't choose to collaborate, then you all will make a decision? And what is that decision about?
We could possibly make that decision. So early on, working with CPAC, there seemed to be a lack of breadth and depth of what CPAC could actually do in the realm of actual human relations. You know, things would happen in the community and CPAC meetings would fill up, and people would come, and then CPAC would look at what its scope of work and body of work, what could be done, and essentially nothing really could be done. And this body hadn't been created at the time. And so while this body was being formulated and even trying to figure out what was going to happen with it, council had decided, well, we're just going to, this seems like the best place for it. And so we leave that in your hands. However, knowing what we know, that we were in a meeting and going to dissolve CPAC to figure out a better way to decide to do that, should, for some remote reason, this group chooses not to do anything with it, council, in my opinion, would have to look and see what is a better way for these bodies maybe to work together, or what sort of avenue we could take in order to satisfy the needs of the community when it comes to police and human relations. Hope that wasn't too long-winded.
I'd like to honor the land that we're on, Cherokee and Saponi and Catawba. My name is Tanya Rodriguez. How would you see constructive collaboration between the HRCA and CPAC?
I don't want to prejudice this body in any way by giving my own opinions as far as how I think this body would work together. I think that is completely up to you all. I believe, I mean, I do have my own ideas, but I don't think it would be fair for me to lay all that out with you all and not give you all the opportunity to bring forth what you truly believe. I don't want someone to say, well, Councilman Young came in and heavy-handedly laid out what he wanted this body and CPAC to be. I want it to be organic, and should that not fit what I believe, I have a platform to be able to express that. But and I'm not trying to not answer your question. I just really want this body to continue to have the strength that it has and the power that it has that we've given you, to be able to do that without instances of council members or anybody else infringing on that. I've seen that happen in other boards and commissions around the city before, where council members get up and say what they want, and then that sways a body. We have our own platform to do that. So I hope that doesn't disappoint you, that I won't give you my opinions on the matter, but I'll be more than happy to talk to everyone offline and tell you what those are.
I just see a lot of, when we have meetings about this, there's a lot of, it seems like nobody really knows what the benefit of joining the two bodies would be together. And one of the things I see is numbers, and bringing in numbers to city council as far as creating policy change around things that aren't working or serving the community. Would you agree that would be something that would be a benefit?
I think that's going to have to be a conversation that you all end up having. And should it not be something that I agree or disagree with, then I do have a platform to voice that. And early on when this body began, I would frequently come up and give advice, opinions, and as this body has got its sea legs up under it, so to speak, I've stepped back a bit. And so I don't want to prejudice this body in any matter. I really want you all to be able to have a continuing presence without council members being kind of heavy-handed, because just because I'm your council liaison doesn't mean that there won't be somebody else in the future that may take advantage of that opportunity. And I want you all to be able to understand that you are the people that are here serving the community, making these decisions in this capacity at this very moment. And council will look toward what your decisions and opinions are and look at them objectively to give our own voice. So please do that for us and your community.
Okay, one more
Thank you.
question. Maybe controversial. If this body chooses not to collaborate with CPAC, would you be a proponent in dissolving CPAC?
I don't know. I don't know at this time. There's other council members that have their own ideas on that, and you all know how it is to get 7 people to agree on something or more. So it just depends on what your steps are. Again, this power was placed in your hands because, in a sense, council really wants you to kind of do this. But if you can't do it, then there's a possibility that it could come back to council and we'll figure it out. And I just want to be able to empower you all. So whatever that is, I need you to do that, and we'll deal with it after the fact.
Ms. Betty, did you have?
Someone, yes, ma'am.
Anything else?
Thank you. Thank you for the autonomy.
All right. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
So while Brad is coming up, I also want to remind everyone that through our notes over the last 2 months, we have conversation in that from our minutes. And also just making sure that we're reading the information so that we can bring back some input and actually know what's actually happening and feel like we can voice what we want. But we really need to be abreast with the information of what's going on and what's happening. So with that being said, I'll open it up to Brad.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me continue what I had said previously at your November meeting, which I think needs to be stressed from the outset. There is no automatic obligation that you enter into any agreement. Now, you've heard from Councilman Young that there is a sense among council that some benefit could be had. But it is, at this point, still up to this body to make a decision if you want to do anything. And if you do decide you want to do something, it's your decision as to what. So you have quite a bit of flexibility with this process. What we have tried to do from a staff perspective is take the request of your two chairs to assist in showing you what it would look like potentially if you decided to work together. And given some of the issues that were proposed to us about these are the things we see that are either problems or areas where efficiencies could be gained, we believed that the vehicle to correct that is this memorandum of understanding. It's a very simple sort of standard agreement between two parties that says these are the things that we agree are going to be dealt with in a certain fashion. And the document is in your packet. It is been cleaned up to a formal state. And I will say that primarily the things that matter on this document are all on the second and into the final third page. And it essentially does this. It lays out, based upon the feedback we've got from your two chairs, those areas where CPAC has exclusive authority, those areas where the HRCA has exclusive authority. And that really tries to solve what we believe might be your first issue. Where are those circumstances that would come up where you might not know exactly who is it that needs to hear and deal with that issue? This tries to begin laying that out. The second set of points that are important is who has the responsibility in this relationship together? Who has to do what? So the first section is who has control over what? The second is who has the responsibility for what? And then the final section on there, which is section 3, and I'm already seeing we need to maybe do a correction of numbers there. I think we need to turn it to a 4, is the ability for the two committees to take it further and to, in certain cases, have joint meetings over issues that might be of extreme community concern, and the overlap aside, you may decide it's to your benefit to do that. That's really it. There's a lot of things in here that just sort of lay out the missions of the two parties in order to set the stage, but it's those things. This comes about completely at the direction of the meetings that have occurred between your two chairs and our, as staff's, attempt to try to formalize that. What I want to really stress is that this is attempt and draft number 1. This is absolutely not intended to be a final product. This is not intended to be something that you've had time to think about and process and vote on tonight. This is our attempt to say if you wanted to do something, it would generally look like this, and here's a starting point. You may decide we're totally off base, and that's okay too. We want to use this as a conversation starter so that you can say, does this need to be tweaked? Does this need to start from scratch? Have we gotten some things right and others not? But get you talking about the issues that we've seen. So with that being said, I think I've said enough. I think we can open it up. I'm happy to answer any questions about the document. I don't believe you're going to have any kind of vote on this tonight. So I'll be back certainly at your next meeting as well to answer more questions. But I believe what we'll do is, as you discuss it and think about it tonight, maybe into multiple meetings, we'll be taking notes, we'll be taking direction from the body as a whole about changes that you would like to see if this is the direction that you want to go.
Does anyone have any questions? We're gonna take a deep dive.
Thank you. This is a start. Last year, we had folks come to us to address issues with police. If the way this is written, where it says CPAC's authority and HRCA's authority, if people come to us with issues that deal with police, does that mean we have to say thank you, but now you have to go to a CPAC meeting and address that? Or do we take that to CPAC so that this person doesn't have to stand in front of the public again and share that story?
This is a great question, and it's a great question because that's the kind of questions you're probably asking yourselves already. It's the question that CPAC members are likely asking themselves. The goal of this document is to answer that. And what I will say is this is a draft of what an answer to that may look like. But I want you and I want CPAC to answer that question in the way that you think will work best. What we've heard and what we've outlined just as a starter draft would say that those issues that are dealing with specific police instances where there is a complaint about what happened at this time with this particular person, that's really probably more of a CPAC issue. And what we've thought is that if CPAC hears every one of those, what eventually they're going to find is that they're going to start seeing maybe trends that are much more policy, human relations, global, general issues. And we've built in here a provision to where CPAC has a responsibility, and you can change this, but we said quarterly, to come to this body and report back on trends that it's seeing. And it may have heard 20 items, but it's seen maybe an issue in one part of town or with one aspect of policing. So that you would then have the authority, as opposed to CPAC, to deal with the broad, high-level trends that may be out there dealing with human relations from a policing standpoint. But that's our draft. That's our attempt to try to draw that line. We'd like you to answer that question, and then we can draft it up and make it work.
So this is a template more so than a draft?
I would say that this is probably a template, but we wanted to go ahead and fill in some information based upon what your chairs have discussed to this point so that you can begin to see a starting point. We didn't want you to have to start from scratch, and we think this is a good way to get the ball rolling, but nothing in here should be considered the final at all.
Thank you.
So, Jesus, I have a concern because of the state of Black Asheville and the police situation and the fact that it's continuing and collecting the data, and people are just collecting data. I know I've spoken about this before. So if CPAC is gathering the information from the community members, collecting the data, and then gathering more information from the community members and collecting data, doggone it, when is somebody going to do something about some things that are going on? I'd like to see a timeline of things that CPAC has done, that the community members have presented them with, what they have done about it, what the police department, they haven't changed anything. So I'm confused. If the community is continually going to CPAC and city council or whoever, and the same things are happening and it's worsening, the data is proving that it's worsening, and everyone is continuing to collect more data, that's just a cycle of data collection, and things are getting worse. Mm-hmm. And they wonder why African American community doesn't show up for events. They're tired of sharing their voices, people not hearing or not listening, not doing anything about it. So what have they done besides collect data and listen to complaints and watch things get worse?
And Brad,
and I don't know how we can help.
If I could just invite Blake to answer that question.
I was going to do the very thing, and Blake's here, and while he's coming up, let me add, I think it's an excellent point, and I will say that I don't know that this is the answer, but maybe this is part of an answer. You have one body, and I think that's CPAC, who is really set up to deal in the weeds on an incident by incident But it's those trends that you're talking about. What's the data showing over time? What are the greater weight of people coming telling us? We've tried to use this document to lay out a process where they can then take the information that they're gathering point by point by point and bring it to you, where we believe is the better form to take what you're hearing in terms of data to City Council in terms of policy recommendations. I don't know that it's the best place to have CPAC do that, because it's really not what they were intended or set up to do. But this might be a place where you can create a collaborative relationship to improve that process. We've taken a stab at that, but I think that is the kind of thing that this document or this relationship may help to address. So I don't know if that answers or helps the question at all, but I would certainly invite Blake to come up and answer that more thoroughly.
And while Blake is coming up, thank you, Ms. Betty, for that question.
It's a very good question, Betty. Thank you.
I want to just stress to all commission members that, again, we're here to critique a system and institutions. So we're not actually looking at the individual or feeling like there's some underhandedness happening, but we want to look with an eye of solutions, and it's not the person, it's the system that we're changing.
And if I can respond to Betty's point as well, I mean, that's a great question, Betty. I think the issue is CPAC doesn't have a lot of power to do anything, to be honest with you. We have a very narrow scope. It is mediate conflicts to the police, which is, we don't have much teeth to do that, to be honest with you. And just try to improve relations with the police and the community, and that's pretty much about it. So we're proposing, just with after Tiffany and I discussed last Friday, just kind of what we wanted to do. We wanted to give you that information, because we have monthly reports as far as crime data, as far as all 4 districts of Asheville, as far as trending spots, what's going on problems-wise. We've had Chief Gudak come back, who is our liaison from APD, tell us how they're responding to those issues. But as far as general scope of policy issues, we really don't have much power. We wanted to be the spear as far as APD is concerned and your public safety realm for equity and inclusion in Asheville, and to give you that information, to say here's what's going on quarterly, say North Asheville. There's a lot of police activity here. Our police, doing something wrong. And to be honest, since I've been I was chair in September, we're not getting many complaints right now, to be honest with you. And the few complaints we do have, the police do follow up with us and then come back the meeting after and tell us what's going on. You all have much more power. So we want to give you kind of the tools as far as the information data from APD to give you the power to say, hey, we need to fix something. That's kind of what my perspective was on that.
Hi, Blake.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Do you have any follow-up, Betty? Did I explain that okay, or?
I'm not satisfied with the information, but go ahead. He had a comment.
Yes, yeah.
Well, you already answered it. I guess a follow-up to my question that was already answered. In the additional joint meetings, it seems like what the MOU is proposing is sort of you give us the data and then we sort of interpret it and come to a policy recommendation. Is that just in these emergency situations that would occur with additional joint meetings, or we feel like it's urgent matter? Would that relationship be the same process?
I believe so. I mean, again, it's up to you all.
Yeah.
I mean, this is literally just the first draft. It's just me and Tiffany. We want to make sure you guys have all, the ability to say, hey, this is what we want to see the relationship look like. I plan on going to my committee next Saturday. We're having a retreat again. You all are welcome to it. It's at the Housing Authority boardroom. It is next Saturday, the 25th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. You all are more than welcome to come because I crashed your meeting. So, again, I'm going to provide information to my committee members, say, hey, this is what, just the chairs of HRCA and CPAC came up with. But this is just the baseline, just, the initial aspects of everything. Our goal is to give you opportunity to brainstorm to see what you want the relationship to look like. I want to go to my committee members and say, hey, what do you want the committee, our relationship to look like when we come together? My hope is that we can work together. But again, it's still the very early stages of that. So that's kind of why I want to keep pursuing this right now. Thanks. Yes, ma'am.
There was a massive public outcry at the recent behavior in regards to militarization and action against a suspect where APD rolled up to his house in the middle of the day with a tank and heavy militarized presence that really freaked out the community. While that may not have been a specific complaint, it was indeed a public outcry, something that I don't think is needs to be sugar-coated or put aside. It's something that does need to be brought up as far as the militarization and how people are approaching people of color. The police is approaching people of color in such a militarized and threatening way in this community. If we're trying to build trust, then how is that building trust?
I agree it's not.
You know?
But again, that is a police tactic that we really don't have control over.
Right.
But again, that's an issue that you could have more power over. But again, our job would be to bring that issue to you. That's what I think what it comes down to. You give the information from APD and to see if there's any actual broader policy concerns that you can approach and deal with, because you have more power to do that on a wider scale.
How would you see a collaboration between CPAC and HRCA in regards to the militarization of police?
As far as, I think we need to look at it as general schemes of things. I think we need to look at a procedural relationship as far as everything's concerned. As far as that specifically, I don't know, to be honest with you. I can relay information. Captain Gudak, who is our liaison, he's very open with me. I can talk to him about things like that. But again, I think with this MOU, we want a general relationship that encompasses hopefully as many issues as possible. But again, specifically, I'm not sure yet, to be honest with you.
Originally, when this came up, this whole idea, I was a little bit leery and thought it was kind of vague. But I think that staff has done a great job.
Yeah, thank you, Brad. He's killed this. It looks great. Much prettier than we had.
Yeah. I mean, there's still a lot of what will happen, but that's kind of what we're doing. We're kind of creating a road. And I like the CPAC exclusive authority section and the HRCA exclusive authority section, and then the HRCA responsibilities. For me, as a beginning document and as a beginning relationship between our two entities, this is a good map, for me at least, and I would be supportive of it.
Thank you. Yes, Pat.
I had a question just kind of in the details of how the relationship would work around the data. Because I've watched a number of CPAC meetings, and I know a lot of the data that you review in those meetings is really kind of neighborhood by neighborhood.
Sure. Yes, exactly. It's for
neighborhood focus.
Correct.
And I'm wondering if that data, those kinds of reports are really what our commission needs. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering if we did move forward with an MOU of some form, if CPAC would be able to and interested in requesting types of data that might be more useful from an equity perspective, which could be different data sets. It could be, definitely complaints, but also looking at things like traffic stops or looking at arrest and citation trends broken down by race and gender. It just feels that I think the concept of CPAC collecting the data, having discussions about it, and reporting to the HRCA is productive, but it's got to be a little different than what CPAC deals with now.
Yes, and I think it's a great, and also to that point to carry over, if you have information you specifically want, we can request that. If something comes up, hey, we want to look at this issue, we can request that directly in our CPAC meeting. So we can give you that too. So if you want us to change anything as far as the data is concerned, or any other requests you all want, we can approach that with APD. I think that'd be good, collaboration there.
Okay,
thank you. Yeah, thank you.
And you're still fairly new leading CPAC.
Correct. I've been on since September, so this is all uncharted waters for me. Right. I'm excited though. I think this is great. But yes, September is when I became the chair.
And before you came on was when it got kind of wild, and there was stuff in the newspaper about it, and there were these.
Yes.
It got kind of a bad reputation, and then.
I've heard. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
I was not a part of that.
Right.
I don't think it was.
Okay.
I don't think I was. Any other questions for me?
I have one other question.
Sure.
If a complaint comes from the public to CPAC today, and similarly kind of for this commission, what happens after that complaint's heard?
We hear the complaint, and then we ask for an APD response, pretty much, and we ask them to follow up with it. For instance, there's one where it was one of our community members came out, there's an issue with white supremacy in police officers. Two apparently were looking at white supremacy websites or something like that, and the police followed up with it, and they just give us reports on that. But that's pretty much the extent of it at this point, to be honest.
So there isn't a formal process?
There's really no formal process, to be honest.
Because that's something I feel with this commission, we've had a
I
few
did want...
concerns raised that I don't know the status of them months later.
And the other carryover we want is too, so when, you know, one of our main components is to be mediating conflicts between the police and the community. We don't have the teeth to really do that. I did have a mediation proposal, which I spoke to Tiffany about. Again, we wanted to create a formal mechanism to mediate conflicts between police and citizens, because when there's an IAB investigation with an officer, the citizen doesn't find out anything about it. They find out very minimal information. If it doesn't go the citizen's way, they have no recourse. Police officer can appeal to Civil Relations Board, but citizens can't appeal or really have any rights as far as that's concerned. We were trying to fix that hole, but we didn't really have the teeth to do it. So that's, again, an issue that we can bring to you. Say there's an issue here, we don't have the teeth to do it, maybe you guys can do like the written consent policy, which is fantastic in those regards. You know what I mean? So building projects that way would be very beneficial, I think, as well.
And just to remind us, back, about a year ago, we mentioned that we didn't want to touch anything dealing with policing. So as we move forward, just looking at what can CPAC do to take some of that load off of us and we still stay in the loop.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to bring everyone's attention to page 2. And Blake, this was one of my concerns when we met. And it's about the exclusive authority of HRCA. And it says, consider policy recommendations to address important negative trends derived from the CPAC reports and improve community relationships through investigating and seeking to address these issues. So if you could just speak to the commission members in reference to what concerns came up as far as CPAC sending policy recommendations.
As far as what? You mean concerns to the community, or?
Well, in terms of commission members feeling that CPAC is now gearing us and sending us to drive your house.
Oh, I understand that. But again, you know, that's a good concern. You know, how I see the relationship is we're the spear kind of thing. We can really get into the weeds on things. And again, you are more of a general policy perspective. We don't want you to do our job. I don't want that. You guys have enough on your plate already. I want to give you trends and issues that we're seeing, and then you all can do bigger policy issues. That's how I see the relationship, to be honest with you, on that. Is that the answer to the question? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I attended a meeting last week, and in that meeting, there was extensive data presented, figuring out how you can find that and get that information, so you don't have to collect it yourself because it's already out there. The data issue again. So we have the data. What are we going to do about it? Creating responses, a system that you have in place where when this happens, we will do this, we will do this, we will do this. If this does not resolve it, then this will happen. Creating steps to creating a process to make things happen. I'm sorry.
No, it's a good. I think it's a very important issue. I think you're right. To be honest.
Oh, one other point. Asheville is in such a state, not only with the police, but in all areas related to the Black community, that there could be lawsuits. So we need to hold people to task, hold people accountable. I don't like the word holding people accountable without saying by doing this, and this. So creating steps of things. This is happening in our community. Because this is happening, we expect you to do this and this and this. If this is not done, then this will happen. If this is not done, then this will happen. We have to have procedures in place to make sure that they are held accountable with steps that are actually written down that will happen if you don't do certain things.
No, that's a very good point. I think
That's accountability.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right about that. Any other questions?
Transparency of action is awesome. That's really good way that we can see how the data is working. That's a great thing. I want to just to ask about what happened with the white supremacist police officers.
Sure.
How did you handle that?
My understanding is the APD looked into it, and they told us they found nothing. That was my understanding. We follow up with them, but again, to Betty's point, I think she's right. There is no like systemic process in place for that. I think that's an issue. I really do think it's an issue. But that's pretty much what the majority is. As Patrick alluded to, it's a pretty informal process, which again, I think we do need more systemic process, as Betty mentioned, to be honest. That's a good point. It really is.
Anyone have any other questions?
We all kind of know each other. We've been through different little icebreakers and stuff, but what prompted you into the journey of leading the CPAC?
Sure. I'm actually a criminal defense attorney. So I practice in Hendersonville, Polk, Transylvania, Madison County, pretty much a lot of West Carolina counties. So I think, especially being a board that's so closely related to the APD, I thought I could bring a different perspective to the whole process, to be honest with you. And I think CPAC was going through a very tumultuous time, and I was looking for an opportunity to get involved and just kind of synced. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity, and I thought I'd just bring a different perspective, because I do understand a lot of the police side of things as far as law is concerned.
Gotcha.
So yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else?
I have questions to pose to our group, but I don't want to make.
Oh yeah, good. Thank you all. Yeah, thank you all. And Ivan, I love that sweater, man. I love it. Thank you all very much for your time.
Thank you.
I'm still happy to answer any other questions you might have about the document or the process itself. If not, I think what I would leave you with is to say that I've drafted a lot of documents. I've edited a lot of documents, and I can tell you that the best way to handle this is to minimize the points of contact. So however long it takes you to go through this process, make these decisions. If this is something you're interested in doing, I would suggest that each of the bodies sort of feed their information through the chair, so that the chair is the person putting comments together. If we get 7 different suggested edits, it's very hard for us to give you a product that reflects all of those. So you may decide you want to debate certain changes and suggestions. Maybe the best thing to do is think sort of high level first, like, are these categories the things you want categories for? Are we missing anything? Do we need another category? Then get smaller and smaller, and as you agree as a body, we can begin putting another draft together for you to look at if this is something you want to pursue. So my suggestion is work through your chair to do all this, and that way it simplifies and streamlines an editing process, and hopefully CPAC can do the same thing. But again, I'm happy to answer any other questions if you have any. If not, Madam Chair, if you could just indulge me one last thing. I appreciate the nod to staff on this. We are here to help do this process, and Nia put together a lot of work into this. And I want to say that going forward, in order to make sure that we have this body fully staffed, and we are here with the kind of support and level that we need. We do have a brand new attorney actually with the city that I want to introduce that's been sitting with me here. Erin Miles actually comes to us from the district attorney's office. She just joined us recently, and she's going to be assisting with a lot of the process going forward. So I wanted everyone to have the chance to see her face and know who she was.
All right, so we're just going to move on down the agenda into, before I close out on updates and reports, I want to encourage everyone to please look over, comb through this document extensively so that we can begin to have some dialogue about it and make some adjustments that's needed, because we still have to come to a vote if we're going to do this or not. But I would love for at least this template / draft to be something that can speak clearly to all members.
Before we move on, as I said earlier, I do agree that CPAC and HRCA should be in collaboration. I think my only, questions and things that are coming up for me are, could we collaborate without the MOU? And does this MOU, how do I put this? I'm just concerned that the reason why there's actually an MOU, and I want more clarity around it, is that City Council wants to dissolve CPAC, and that if we don't sign the MOU, then that's what could happen. And so there's just like clarity around, I don't think the people around this table can answer, but I guess my question is like, could collaboration still happen without an MOU? Because if they're data people and we're policy people, we could just request data from them at any time and ask them, make a request for them to present their data at every one of our meetings, and us just make a policy recommendation.
The short answer is absolutely yes. This is not something that is necessary for you to collaborate or not to collaborate. The goal here, if you decide to enter into this or some kind of similar document, is to specify what that collaboration looks like. Generally speaking, what that does is if CPAC has a different vision of what that collaboration looks like than you do, you may not have helped yourself to say that we agree, and understand that there will be future iterations of you in these seats at some point, and to lay the groundwork and the framework prevents every new body from having to rethink that process. This is set up to be a living document where it can be edited in the future, but it helps you lay out those ground rules, and so that everybody is on literally and figuratively the same page on those things, but you're not required to do it. It is there if you believe it is useful.
What I have is really a question or a point of discussion for our group, I think, regarding topics related to policing in general. I think it's a complex issue, and I think there's definitely a lot of different perspectives on our commission as to whether we should have nothing to do with topics related to policing or whether it's something that we do need to have a role in. And I think that's one of the questions in terms of how this collaboration would work is really how does that work happen? You know, is it something that happens just in our regular meetings here? Or is it something where we need a subcommittee structure, possibly that collaborates with CPAC? I mean, those are some of the questions I have when I look at this, that if, say as a commission, we don't want to do policing related issues, but we're getting quarterly reports on police trends, that doesn't really set us up in a position to be successful. And I really do think that, you know, I think CPAC could take a policy role, or they could have in the past and didn't. I don't think City Council is taking the policy role they should. So who else other than this commission is going to look at police-related policies, if not us? So that's kind of why I personally think that policing and public safety is too big of a topic for us to simply ignore. But at the same time, I'm concerned about how we do that without it becoming the only thing we do, because human relations is incredibly broad.
I think the HRCA responsibilities, at least the way that they're worded right now, kind of limit maybe what you're referring to, because what we're going to be doing is receiving information. Number 2 is maintain independence. And number 3 is refer matters to CPAC, and I guess ultimately refer information to, or refer policy recommendations to City Council. So as a beginning part, I think that is very minimal.
Well, I think you should look also at the exclusive authority on the previous page, though, because that does include policy recommendations.
Under HRCA?
Yeah.
Number 2. So that's what we brought up a little earlier. Because I think this is the perfect time to have these concerns come out so that we're able to revamp what this document looks like and how it's going to feel moving forward, even when we're not in the seats. But I know for me, my concern was those years ago with Jerry Williams and just that whole big city situation that really, if we were sitting where we are now,
March, because at least 5 people aren't here. So when they come back, we're gonna have to basically be doing a little bit of a catching up for them. And so, are you looking at the vote being in March?
That's a reasonable time to say March.
Okay. Because I'd hate for this to just draw out.
Right.
Yeah.
And I even think too, setting up a work group, not a subcommittee where we have to make it public, but a small work group where we can actually go through it as a team. Do we have to take a vote to have a work group?
You do not have to take a vote. You can, if you would like, to memorialize that, but the chair has the authority to establish work groups.
I'd like to establish a CPAC, HRCA, MOU draft work group. I know that's a lot of words. A work group. And if anyone is interested, just send me an email and I'll shoot out an email to see if anyone bites back.
Just please make sure that work group has less than a quorum on it, or else it becomes a public meeting.
Yep.
Could I ask, I'm sorry, go ahead.
A quorum is how many?
You currently have 2 vacant spots, which means you have 13 total, so 7 equals quorum, so you need to have 6 or less be part of any group that meets, or else it does become a public meeting and we have to notice it and open it to the public.
I'm sure we can have 5.
I just wanted to make sure if we establish this working group, does it have the right specificity and any other requirements regarding timing to, if we form it, can it actually meet?
I think so. If you have a work group, they are not bound by the same sort of principles of meeting notices and these sorts of things, and you can establish the guiding principles or charge however you would like for this group. And certainly staff is available to help assist in coordination or providing information to that group as needed.
So we have about 10 more minutes left in the meeting. So unfinished business, I feel like we touched on that when we discussed, but we're just not voting right now on next steps for CPAC and HRCA. We'll wait until March. So February, we would catch up members who weren't here and present. And then March, we should be looking at the ability to take on a vote. So, again, before I just open it up to public comment, are there any concerns that's just really sitting on your minds right now that you want to bring out? Ms. Ben? No.
I did. A personal concern. I may need to leave the board or the commission because of accessibility issues. I have to come 2 or 3 hours early, circle the parking lot, find a space that's accessible for me to enter the building. I can't walk very far. So because of that, today I decided I may need to resign from the board. I want to work somehow in the background too, but I just can't spend my gas money and my time circling parking lots.
And that's something maybe we can talk with Leah and Kimberly to see what type of accommodations.
Would you be willing to Skype into the meeting, or?
Yes.
I mean, it is 2019, and I would hate us to lose what you give to us just because of an accessibility issue, which I know is a big issue.
I
But-
definitely Skype in, sure.
Yeah, that would be great.
It also feels like to be present, the city, we need to make accommodations with the parking out there. And so I'm wondering, like, if that, like, how can we advocate for you and like, because if this is, you and I were talking about this, if this is an accessibility issue for you, then think of how many people don't come to meetings because of that. And so what are the steps we need to take to work with the equity office to figure out parking out there?
Could this go into new business so that we can really kind of just take a deep dive into it?
At this meeting tonight or at the next meeting?
Well, I guess it would be next week.
Yes, absolutely. Coordinate, if you would, through Nia, and she can add that to the agenda.
Would it be possible to, for all of us to have parking passes that are specific commissioner parking passes, government official parking passes? There's parking areas there for government cars. Right, like is that a possible thing that we can do so that we...
You are well outside of my authority. I don't know the answer to that. I know that there is actually an item on City Council's agenda coming up to provide free transit passes for everyone on boards and commissions for the city. I say that only to say that those sorts of things are being discussed right now and how to make those accommodations. We have limited parking options just by the very nature of where we are. But certainly it's something you could make a request, and it could get into our facilities people to examine what the options would be.
So we need to, since the city is talking about that on an upcoming agenda, should we ask if this can be like a nugget added into that as we're talking about accessibility for people who are on boards and commissions? Because it's not, there are a lot of people who do take the bus, and then there are a lot of people who also drive. So like, we're the both and.
I would suggest running that through Nia, who can then put that into the proper channel for discussion. I think that she is probably, especially being in the equity office, is the best place to start that discussion and see where it goes from there.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I'd like to open it up for public comment. All right, well, if we don't have any public comments at this time, I'd like to open it up to adjourn